Hey everyone, sorry for the delay. I am kind of figuring this out as I go, but looks like we got enough going to get started. So camera is not working, but we'll go ahead and get going. So if y'all want to chime in, just tell me where everybody's from. That would be cool to kind of see who's checking this out. But so if you don't already know, so I'm Joseph Richards. I'm the owner of Flooring Takeoffs. We are a estimating service for commercial flooring and tile companies. And I make videos for Measure Square on here. I thought it'd be cool to show the whole process, kind of from from start to back. And this is relatively simple, but it's enough to kind of show you kind of what I go through when I'm doing a takeoff. So I cheated a little bit and drew the outside already because I figured you don't want to just sit here and watch me click the whole time. But so the way we do ours is I go ahead and draw the perimeter, and then I'll go in and draw the interior walls. And then if you guys have any questions, comments as I'm going, please share those. But so we'll just do that. We'll come through and draw the interior walls and then get to the materials. Turn off that. So I know there's a few different options for doing this. Some people go room by room. I have found this way just to be faster personally. So that's how we do it. And I'll try and make this as quick as I can. Let's see if I can show you some stuff along the way. You want to try and get in the middle there, as close as you can. And then try and do big chunks first, and then we'll go in and separate kind of these interior. Right there. And then just a little wing wall there. So we're just going out, and then we'll use a divider to separate that space off. Let's see what else we got here. Then we want to do this big chunk here. This is a railing, but I'm gonna go ahead and just draw it as a wall just to separate that space. I'm not super worried about the thickness matching on that because it's not really something we have to worry about. And then I like to take off as big a chunk as possible the first time. And we'll just stop there. And then come through and break it down. So that, again, it seems faster for me personally, but I know there are different ways to do that. And I already messed up, if y'all can see that. So same break room here, just a little wing wall here. So if you run into that, a quick way to fix that is Control, and then you can just merge that. And then I'll just bring that back. And prior to this, I'm going to split it and then just drag that out. There we go. So there we go. It's a quick way to fix something. If you get something that you don't want broken out like that, go ahead and merge it and then get you back on track. So same thing here, divider. So we're going to start the wall over here. Do this. And I know this is very exciting. I'm trying to go as quickly as I can with this to get to the fun part, if there is such a thing for this. And that looks like a wall there too. I'm going to check that because that seems odd, an odd place to put a wall. So I'm going to check the demo plan before I draw that one in. Just the way it's drawn, you can see how the lines are not the same thickness as the other walls. So just make a mental note to go check that. Here. Let's see what else we got. And I think this bathroom area over here, and then we're good to get going. Okay. And split this, go down here. So normally I would do this a little bit neater, but again, I know you guys don't want to just sit here and watch me click around for 30 minutes. So, and then this wall, so it's a little hard to see. I don't know if y'all can see that. So it's got the wall coming out, past the bathroom that just got little bump outs here. So to do that, I'm going to split this and then just drag it out. And I'm using hotkeys. If you've seen my videos, you know I mention hotkeys quite a bit, so those are very, very handy. And then same here, so I'm going to split this. And splitting is just adding an extra point. So when you have a normal line, you have your endpoint, endpoint, and midpoint. So when we're splitting it, we're just adding an extra midpoint, and this is the part that we want to manipulate. So when you drag that out, see how it stays aligned. If you drag one of these corner pieces, it's going to kind of go wherever. So I try not to mess with those whenever possible. I think that'll get us. Let's hit this one too. And then I just like to zoom out, make sure everything in scope. That looks pretty good. Doors I usually do as part of my takeoff. I like to attach the transitions to the doors and then just do it that way. So, okay. So we've got that. I like to do this first, really, before I go through the plan set. That's what we're going to do next. This just gives me a good idea of the space. And then when I'm flipping through plans, I already have kind of a reference point in my head. So again, this is my process. Everyone I know has their own way. Let me drag this over here. Make sure y'all can see that. Okay, good. And then where I like to start is cover page. So there's an index. Obviously, that's where we want to go first. And treat the index, just think of it as like a table of contents, like a book, different chapters. That's how I look at this. So we're probably going to be looking at specs, demo plan for sure. I want to check that wall. Floor plan maybe, see if there's some extra notes. Ceiling plan, we want to make sure those restrooms, and then make sure there's nothing on the ceilings. Finish plan, obviously we already have. This enlarged plan is probably going to show us the restroom elevations. Okay, door schedule. I don't mess with door schedule too much unless I want to confirm a door, like in healthcare. Sometimes those are a little bit wonky. They're 4 foot, so this would be a good place to come confirm door sizes if you're unsure. Okay, specs. We'll just scan these. A lot of times these are just kind of generic too and don't necessarily have anything to do with that specific project. So yeah, so we're talking about showers here. We don't have showers on this job. One thing I will note, like if it puts, sometimes these will mention like epoxy grout and maybe not say it on the finishes, then that's something I would just make a note of before sending this back to a client. Partitions, this is another good one if you're unsure about base, if it goes on a certain wall. This is good to check. Demo, okay. Okay, so it is a wall. Okay, so this is the wall I just wanted to confirm, just because it's drawn differently. It just looks odd to split up an open office like that, but looks like it is. Then ceiling plan. Okay, nothing over here, so that might be on an enlarged plan, or sometimes they'll have a note up here. Okay, no note. A lot of times they'll just say 9 foot typical. This does not have that, so I'm assuming then it'll be on an enlarged plan for us. Floor plan, check these notes. Not a whole lot that I'm worried about. This would be good if you're checking scale. You want to pull a dimension, I would pull it from this plan. Rule of thumb for that is the largest dimension that you can find. There's really not a lot of big ones on here, which is kind of surprising. So probably this 13.4, I would pull that and check that. And so no heights there. Okay, so we're really going to be looking for a ceiling plan. Right there. Okay, restrooms. So here's our elevations for the tile. Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. This pattern's a little a little funky. Okay, that's interesting. I'll have to figure that one out on the go. I have to think about how to attack that pattern, just because they want it to have kind of this transition for the gradient. So we may have to manually do that. I think maybe the best. And then millwork details, not a whole lot. I mean, it's good if you want to check maybe there's tile or something behind mirrors. And then this one also has a wall trim. So that's a good detail to know there. So that's telling us what's going on top of the wainscot. So, okay, that gives me a pretty good idea where we're at. So let's go back to here and find our finishes. So then I'm going to go through and do my finish list. For this, I'm not going to, ideally you should look these up and confirm all these specs. I'm not going to do that because I know nobody wants to watch that. So just for demonstration purposes, we're going to assume these are correct. But you should always double check and make sure they have all this spec info right, or if it's even an active selection. Sometimes they have discontinued items on some of these plans. So just go through and add them. So we have plank, tile, let's see, LVT. And I like to just go through and kind of add everything at once. So just scan it. So base. So we need straight and cove. That's another thing to look out for. Make sure you have the right base. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles. No, 1, 2, 5 tiles. Okay, so I'm just gonna do the one, and I'll just duplicate it as I need it for that. So for this, I'm just gonna do the designation again, so you don't sit here and watch me look stuff up on the internet. So the way we normally do it is you put all the finish info up here, and then in the description, I like to put scope, just kind of like a general area. I don't want to list every room that it appears, but I do like to give people an idea of what they're looking for. So do that. Let's change that color and change this. So this is another cool thing about Measure Square. You can type in the dimensions like this, and it'll convert for you, which is pretty cool. So LVT. And this is kind of well, of course, next to tracing it out, this is probably the most time-consuming part of the process, especially if you have a job with a lot of specs. It's a lot of Googling and verifying. There are some, I'm just going to put Cove here just so I know. There are some services like Spec ID that will kind of automate this for you. Jengai is another one. If you guys are interested in checking those out, those could be helpful for your workflow. Other than stuff like that, man, it's a lot of manual typing and verifying, but it's a really important part of the process. So here, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate it a few times. And then again, if anyone has any questions, comments while I'm going here, please feel free to chime in out there. T3, still 24. Let's just pick. And as far as colors, I don't have a real strict color scheme for a lot of this stuff. I try to keep them as distinct as possible. Like you don't want to have too many shades of the same color, especially when it comes to base, because that can be really hard to pick up on a PDF if you're sending it to somebody that doesn't have Measure Square. But on big jobs, sometimes you have no choice, and you kind of have to do that. But you can change some in your settings to change the appearance of the base. So maybe I usually do solid lines, but maybe you do dashed, just something to help it stand out a little bit more. What we need, let's get one more color in here. Let's do one. Okay. So we got that. And then the way ours is set up too, we use these codes just because I am very picky about how I order my materials. So I went in and hard coded everything so that way I can just come in here. So pop up and I can just go A to Z and get it in the order that I want. So I personally, again, all this stuff is gonna be my workflow. I like to have my soft goods and resilient grouped together and then my tile grouped separately. So if this is a real big job, and I know alphabetically is very popular, but I'm coming back in here and looking for something, I want to know carpet is up top, tiles, carpet and resilience up top, tiles down bottom. And I already know what I'm looking at. I don't want to scroll through a big, if I have 20 materials on here, I don't want to scroll through a big long list trying to figure out where it is I'm trying to find it. So, all right, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to come through and use the divider on these break areas. So again, hotkey on that. And what a divider does is it just splits this area so that you're able to put different materials in here. So one thing to note is it will not, unless you split the room by region, it will not give you the option to do separate base materials. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in just a second. Let's draw this, do this wall before I forget. And I'm just gonna split that. It's kind of hard to pivot and draw that. There we go. All right, so carpet 1. So they're showing us the direction and the offset. So to do that, we're gonna right click, design pattern. So if it was something custom, you can build your own. They have presets. So we're just gonna take this. And then we're just gonna come through and drop all those first. And that's, in my opinion, the easiest way to do it. You kind of just batch what you're doing. I'm gonna assume these are carpet 1, just because that seems to be the field. So this room is not labeled, which is odd. I'm gonna go back and check the demo plan on that one too. That may be an existing space. Okay, so we'll come back to that. And it looks like everything there. So we're gonna go carpet 2, same thing. So design pattern, looks like they just got that offset. And oh, well, this will be another good trick. So I have it go in the wrong direction. Just show you. Easy way to do that is that layout direction, and you just want to click kind of the opposite of the way you want it to run. So we want it to go up and down. We're going to click there. So this one, since they're all kind of the same orientation, I miss this one. We'll probably get away just selecting them all and doing that. So there's a little trick. And then these closets too, I'm going to confirm those. Those may be concrete, but it does show that all this is carpet 1. So yeah, so it's not a carpet to concrete transition. So I'm going to assume those are carpet 2 or carpet 1 also. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then another carpet 2 down here. So if you have a hotkey, and I do, it lets you change the direction just like that. So that's pretty handy. Again, that's, so this one is not going to work because it's kind of at an angle. So it's just going to change the angle, but it's not going to be what we want. So that's when you definitely have to go there. And then another thing, since they show this, I'm going to see if it fits to match. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Okay, so we'll come through and do that too. And that is just pattern position. Again, I have hotkey for that. So that's just basically, we're going to move these tiles to fit the hatching that they're showing on there, since it's very specific. You do almost have to just click off every room when you're done, because you'll see sometimes, and this may just be a me thing, you see how it carries the one that we were just on over to here. So it's going to shift both of those rooms at the same time. We already have this one where we want it. So it takes a little longer. And there may be another trick to that I just don't know that will help you avoid that, but I like to get it set and then click off and then go to my next one. And then I think we got a couple more here. So again, these are not perfect. I'm trying to do this correctly and quickly at the same time. Just not always the best way to do this, but okay. I think that'll get us in this one. So again, I'm just using the hotkey to set up the pattern position. Same thing, you could do it up here. If you don't have a hotkey, you just click on your room, go there, same thing. And you're looking for this dot, is kind of showing you where you're going to drop it. So that's your reference point. All right, let's see what we got next. Next, we're going to do this LVT, call for an ashlar. That's a little unusual for an LVT install. Usually it's like a third offset or just a random stagger. So I'm going to do it like they say on the plans, but that's also something else I'm going to mention in my notes. Just how you like confirm this install pattern because it's a little unusual. Okay, so I think we're good there. Let's see what this is. This is probably that tile. Let's go check. So this is not labeled, but we're going to check the legend up here. So T1 is the, I don't know what you would call that. What you call that? Speckled? We'll go with that. So we're going to drop that in here, and you can see they have the pattern again. So they're going to have a full tile here in the middle, cut tiles on the perimeter. So we're going to match that as best we can. Let's see if that, okay, so they actually drew it all the way through. That's nice. Sometimes you'll get it where the pattern does not match all the way through the space, if that makes sense. So I was anticipating having to use a divider here to cut this and then reset this pattern on this side, but they actually drew it to where it fits all the way. So that's very nice. And then I'm going to go back just a second. So I'm sure you caught it because it's kind of obvious with the material differences, but since I had this divider, I was able to put two materials in this larger space. But when I go back to add the base on here, it's going to run through the whole thing. So base does not recognize divider lines. You could do it. You can split those to where they're two separate spaces. So now when I come back and do it, it's going to treat this as a room. It's going to treat this as a room. So that's something you can do. Again, this is a hotkey. So I'm going to drop that in there. Same thing. So now these are like two different spaces. So that's another way to do it. And I guess I should have looked here first. Base. Okay, wood base little tile 1. Okay, so no rubber base here in the corridor. That's all going to be wood. All right, let me just go through and drop our base real quick. So we're going to have straight base at our carpet, cove at these break areas. We're going to confirm that space over there on the right. And again, with base, a couple ways you could do it. You can go through and do it manually like I just did. If you are 100% certain that this base is going to go at every carpet 2 location, you can attach it here like this. And so that means whenever you drop this carpet 2 base, the carpet 2 material, this RB1 is going to be figured automatically. The only problem with that is you have one room that maybe gets wood base, maybe it's a conference room, they want something fancier in there. You're not going to be able to remove that because it's permanently attached to that material. So I don't use this unless I am 100% sure that everywhere that flooring material goes, that base material goes with it. So that's just a warning if you decide to go that method, but it can save a ton of time. And then I missed this wall, so we're going to draw this in here. And that looks like more. That may be a tile, actually. No, I'm assuming that's LVT. It's just not long enough. It's not a big enough space to see the the joints. Drop that. And then a little bit more base here. And I think we're good on the soft good and resilient side. All right, so let's move on to the restrooms. Again, they have this drawn here, so we're going to try and match that. Let's see. So we've got T3 and T4. Okay. Sorry, I'm just going to double check this. This should be a, yep. So this should be a 12 by 24, not a. And that's a good check to see. They don't always draw the patterns the right size, so it doesn't always happen, but that's a good check. So I was saying this was 24 by 24. This is obviously not drawn that way, so that's a good check for me to know that something's wrong. Okay, so we're going to go. And then same thing, since it's a weird angle, and you see how I picked that up, so we want to make sure we're just doing that. And I'll try to do the menu options, so I apologize for just doing hotkeys as I do another hotkey, but you do enough of these, it just gets to be muscle memory. Okay, so we're going to go divider again here. Looks like they've got an accent tile under the sink, so we're going to make sure we get that. And we're just going to assume, I think it said it over here. Okay, so we're just going to assume the same lines. So since we already have that set up, once we rotate this, or it's already rotated, so it's going to line up. That's really hard to see, but it's already lined up with the overall pattern. Okay, looks good. All right, so now we're ready for wall tile. So we want to go back here. All right, so the enlarged plan, the way to read this is these are showing you the elevations that are going to show you this wall. So pretend you're standing behind this arrow looking this way. 5A.10, so page we're on, is what you're looking at. So I don't know if you can, this is probably too small for you to see them both at the same time, but zoom in a little bit. So here's your toilet here. This is that wall. There's the bump out, and then there's the vanity. So that's the way that works. This one does not show us all of the walls, which is very typical for tile. So unfortunately, a lot of times you kind of got to make your best guess. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to figure this dark tile to wrap on the other side of this wing wall, meaning I'm going to have it come here around here, and then I'm going to wrap it like it's showing this being covered with it, so I'm going to take it down here. That makes more sense to me than starting a whole new tile right here. That would be kind of an abrupt transition. So I'm going to bring it around, let it die into this corner, and then start the field tile in the rest of the space. And then we'll come back and we'll figure out this pattern. I have a good idea what I'm going to do with it now, but let's do this first. I guess first we should get the height. So 4/6 with a schlitter piece on top. Okay, so that's WT3. All right, so we go view walls and just pick one. So add horizontal stock, we're going to take that up to the height that we want. Let's say 4/6. And let's see. Wait. Sorry, let me go back and make sure I read that right. WT3. I got something wrong here. Yep. Guys are supposed to tell me that was wrong. So I had 1, 2, this is the 3. Okay. Back on track. So let's go back to a restroom. All right, so we have that drawn. Come here, we'll drop that, and then we'll add a cap piece. Again, I'm not going to title this just because for time's sake, but so I'm going to drop that on there. This is something I do when it's mostly one tile. So one thing you can do is just copy this, and I'm just going to put it on all the walls in both bathrooms. And then I'm going to go back and fix the ones that are the accent color. And then I'll set the vanity for last. So for this, we're looking at what, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 is the vanity. So we're going to come back for that. Switch over to this one. So we're looking at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12 is the vanity. So, okay. I'm going to delete this wall stack because it's a different height. So I'm sorry to flip back and forth. This is just... So this is the different height. So we're going to confirm that in here. This will work. There we go. Great. 7 foot. Okay. WT2. Okay. So we're going to go 7 foot here. And make sure we put our cap back on. And it doesn't really matter which one you pick for the field on this one because we're going to color it, but we're going to make this herringbone pattern real quick. So we're going that way. Okay. So to do that, we're just going to right click, design pattern. And we're going to go ahead and add 2 with herringbone. You want to have your first 2 pieces out there. You come up here, we're going to rotate it. So that just means you select endpoints and then just drag it. It'll set at a 45 for you. You want to do that to the other side. Just want to go the opposite way. So drag the bottom. And then we got a little pointer finger. We're going to grab this. This over here will not populate if these are not lined up. So if you're getting nothing, that means you don't have it set correctly. So when this lines up, then we've got our pattern. So we're going, okay, you can title these if you want. I normally don't unless I have patterns with a bunch of different accent options. So I'm going to add that there. They want a 50-50 split. It's a kind of a gradient transition. So I'm just gonna color this in instead of trying to build that pattern. So we're gonna go replace tile and just paint it. And I think that'll get us close enough. They're gonna have to confirm this before they install anyway, so I think this will get us where we need to be. And then so I'm gonna do this once, I'm gonna copy it, and then I'm gonna paste it on the other restroom. If there was some kind of repeat or it was an actual pattern, then I would build it. But since they're doing it this way, I think this is fine. So we're gonna go back to the other one and 13. Okay, so done. So then when we look at that, you can check it in 3D. That's a good way to review your. So I like that. That makes sense to me. Seeing it like this too, I think running this on this wall would be kind of abrupt. But again, that's another note I'm going to make for them to confirm when they turn this bed in. So last thing to do is we need, well, second to last thing to do, we need to hit these outside corners. So those are going to have a trim piece as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here. It looks like this door is kind of set back from the outside, so I'm just going to put it there. And then we also have this bump out. Same thing on the other side. So a few more, so 11, 14, and 3. Should finish there. Okay. All right, so I think last thing before we go back, and I'm still need to go confirm this room, excuse me, is our transitions. So these have specs. Again, I'm just going to do kind of generic stuff for sake of time. So we got, let's see, carpet resilient. Carpet to tile and tile to concrete. So let's just change these colors real quick just to something. So, okay. So the other thing you can do is when you go and do these, obviously like this, you're going to apply manually. So all these, you're just going to go drop them just like a base material. And a space there. The other way you can do this is when you bring up your door menu, you can choose if you want to attach material to it, and that just means whenever you drop this transition is attached. So every carpet to tile, I'm going to do that. Turn my walls off. And that way I can kind of batch that as well. I think that's the key really to turning stuff around quickly is trying to do all of the same thing at once so that you're not going back. You've seen, I'm going fast in this. You've seen a few times I have to go back and add things that I should have caught the first time. And that's where your time really starts to escalate. So the more that you can hit on the first go around, the better. So just for carpet to carpet, we don't have anything. So when we come here, we're just not going to select anything. So that's just dropping a regular door. Go through and do those. I'll have to come back. See, so I'm talking and I missed those. That's our carpet resilient. I'll have to come back. So just little stuff like that, like having to go back and do that, even though I've already done it, can really eat into your turnaround time. And then I don't know what. So I'm not going to worry. We don't have any base there, so I'm not going to worry about that. Let's just do these as regular doors too. And the tile resilient there. Okay, so we don't even have a tile resilient. So that makes me think this could be concrete now that they have this tile to concrete. No, never mind. Yeah. So I'm going to swap that out. I'm going to take that plank out and just assume that's concrete. Again, ask them to confirm that. Just because I don't see that transition going anywhere else unless one of these spaces is also concrete. So let's go back and hit these real quick. What else? And then, yeah, let's go back and check this room. I'm really curious what's going on here. If nothing else, I'm just going to throw carpet in again. That's going on the notes. So let's go back. Okay, so it's labeled here, just on the finished plan. That's a little odd. So let's see what the demo plan looks like. So here's, oh, for sure. Okay, so this used to be a bathroom. So I'm definitely going to put carpet in there. Okay, so we're just going to draw this wall out. That's odd that it's not labeled, but it's not dark gray. Like it's not in scope. So that's another one for the notes. Let's go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and turn this just to match the rest of the space. And then let's go to some base and a transition in there. Nope. Oh, carpet. And then I think we're going to call this one good. And then I'm going to door here. So another thing you can do, if they're not 3-foot doors, or if you don't want to use that drop, you can do the takeoff and do it manually. So it's also an option. I mean, it's just a little bit slower. When you're dropping the doors too, you can set them. So if you had a bunch of 4-foot doors, you can set it here and then go do this. Again, you want to make sure you hit all those at the same time, because going back and forth is, again, it's where you start to lose a lot of time. So I think I'm gonna call that good. I'm not seeing anything. Yep, some base. I don't know if y'all are seeing anything. I'm not, but that looks pretty done to me. Let's go ahead and look at it in the 3D. It's just kind of a cool way to review stuff. It's a little bit easier to see if you've missed something on the floor plan for sure, but that all looks pretty good to me. So the only other thing I do is I label these. I don't label all the rooms, but I do label any rooms that are getting wall tile, because when you do your printout, so if this is going to somebody that doesn't have Measure Square and I want to send them a PDF, that way it's going to show up. They're like, okay, I know what room this is because it's labeled that way. You see, they just give these generic nothing names here. So then they're going back to cross-reference with the floor plan, like, hey, what room is this actually? So just trying to save time. It's just easier for people to reference stuff there. And then another thing I started doing, this is kind of new, I just feel like it makes it easier to review, is I've had to start reviewing more people's work, but I'll put the elevations I'm using in there. So the men's, we're going 4 and 5 for A10. And I'll just use a note. And arrow. And that just gets whoever's reviewing this job, and I'm copy and paste and then just adjust for the women's. I think that was 8, 9. So if somebody's reviewing this job, then they know where to look. Otherwise, they're looking at this takeoff. They're trying to figure out where did this go. So that way, if they're doing this, like, okay, I'm going to go check these elevations. And, well, you know what? I had this backwards. That's why we review. There we go. See? That would have been a big mistake. But there we go. So that's why we do these reviews at the end. Like, I don't ever finish something and then just send it, because there's always, and I'm going faster than I would normally, but that's still something, I should have caught as I was going. But self-review it. If you're unsure of something, have somebody else review it. Like, as many eyes as you can get on it before you send this off down to either you work with a company with your PM, or if you're a contractor or service like us, before you send this to the client, the better. So that's not something that you want to send back that, hey, you got the tile floor is wrong, because that's it's an easy fix, but it'd be kind of embarrassing to send that and be like, especially if you're early on in your relationship with that client or that PM, that kind of, you just lose some trust right off the bat with that. So glad I could share my mistakes with y'all. So I think I'm gonna call that good, unless anybody has any questions before we wrap this up. But thank you to everyone who checked this out. This may be like a monthly thing. I'm not sure yet, but if anybody has any topics they want to see going forward, let me know. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can message me on here on YouTube, or you can email me at Joseph, JOSEPH, at flooringtakeoffs.com. So I'm available. Easy to find. If you got feedback or suggestions, we'd love to hear it. So thank you. Y'all have a great rest of your day.